Welcome everybody to our April webinar. My name is Tracy and I am a marketing coordinator here at Marketing for ECPs, and I will be your moderator for today. Of course, we want to thank Johnson & Johnson for being an amazing sponsor. They've been an absolute dream to work with, and these webinars couldn't be possible without them, so we wanted to give them a shout out. A few things for just housekeeping. If you guys have any questions while we're going through the webinar, feel free to pop them in the chat bar on the right-hand side. We will have a little bit of time at the end to hopefully go through some questions. We do have really short and sweet webinars, so they are only 20 minutes long, but do make sure that you stay tuned until the end of the webinar because we do have a great giveaway and you won't want to miss out on that. So today we are getting nerdy. So we are talking all about metrics that matter and all about the things that you can do to bump up your digital marketing by just analyzing the numbers of what's currently happening. So without further ado, let's talk about our panelist for today. So we have Jason Wellman. So he is our VP of Operations and Member Solutions here at 4ECPs. He's known as the guy of process. So he constantly drills it into everybody to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the numbers and always analyzing the metrics. So Jason, can you tell the audience a little bit about what your position looks like at 4ECPs?
Sure. Thanks, Tracy, and good afternoon, everybody. I think to summarize my day-to-day with the team and really what we work towards is we're always driving towards performance. And performance for us is the combination of two things. It's the experience that we provide to our members and our clients, ensuring that we're supporting their business. But it's that experience backed by the results of our services. And in order to make sure that we can measure what results are good or bad, it leads us to talking nerdy. It leads us to making sure that we understand the metrics and the measures that matter, that impact our decisions and impact our recommendations and ultimately impact the success of the marketing for our clients.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. So without further ado, let's hop right in. So Jason, you can take us away.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this graph right here. We're going to get really nerdy, but next thing is we're going to look at this one, and perhaps we might want to dive into this one, not shortly followed by this one, or perhaps maybe there's one more. I bring this up to just highlight the fact that there are a ton of data points that we have the opportunity and the ability to measure. I think one of the advantages we always speak about with digital marketing is this opportunity to measure everything. Sure, but what should we measure? How do we make sure we can understand what are good and bad numbers? What are the ones that require my attention? And really, where do I start? How can we simplify this and where do I start? So that's really what we're going to dive into today. And we're going to get this stuff out of the way. We're really just going to dive into probably a very common image that anyone who has participated in our webinars in the past may have seen, which is really understanding our marketing and sales funnel. Everything that we do as consumers actually follows a very somewhat predictable process. And the same goes for our businesses, we and our clients. Our clients and our customers go through the same process. Our patients go through the same process. So really, first understanding the funnel on the right-hand side of the screen of awareness, interest, desire, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase is the marketing and sales funnel. And we've all gone through these steps every time we buy anything. So I'm going to use an example that doesn't seem so long ago, but we remember a time without it. We all remember a time without our smartphones. We remember a time and place where we had the Nokia brick or the Motorola brick that we were carrying around, or we saw someone carrying it around. And when the idea of the iPhone came out and smartphones, we first became aware of it. What is it? Interesting. Oh, it's a phone. No, it's not just a phone. It does everything else. It seemingly does everything beyond phoning people these days because with the way that we interact with it. But before we bought an iPhone, we got a little bit of interest. And we understood, okay, so I can email, calendar, all right. Seems like a Palm Pilot, if you remember those. Oh, but you can also manage your social media and eventually you can do your banking. And that's when we start to understand this consideration. What does this mean for my life? How could this make my life more convenient? How could it make me with work more convenient or organizing my family life? And at some point in time, we started to lean in and show some intent. Maybe I should look at this. Maybe our phone contract was about to run out. And we realized, maybe I should look at an iPhone. I wonder what those are all about. And at some point in time, we started to go through an evaluation. We started to look at offers and deals. Do I buy it? Do I lease it? Do I do a 2-year plan? How much data do I need? And at that point in time, we're evaluating the options in front of us, and there has to be an offer. At some point in time, there's an offer made by our mobile provider, and we go, yeah, I'm going to take it. And we purchase. And the same thing happens with everything that we buy, from a grapefruit at the grocery store to an iPhone to our choices when it comes to our eye care and our health. So when we look at those stages of the funnel, we can measure each stage of the funnel through metrics. Each one of those stages has a measurable. And then we relate that to a KPI, which is a ratio that helps us understand performance. And we can create a KPI combining almost any 2 stages of the funnel to create a metric. When we look at the funnel itself, the reason we call it the marketing and sales funnel is because there is a hard line between marketing and sales. Once a potential customer or patient has expressed intent, they are now in the sales cycle of the process. So once you have expressed intent, you walked up to the booth at the mall evaluating the iPhone, you're now engaged in a process of evaluation. You're really looking at those different offers, those different plans, and you're typically engaging with someone to do that before you make a purchase. So for us, we have to understand that there are marketing activities of the funnel and there are sales activities in the funnel. When we start to look at the metrics of the funnel, we can start to understand some terms that have probably been brought up in the past or people on this webinar have seen before. Awareness is measured in impressions. It is a universal marketing and advertising terminology that understands what is the exposure that people have had to you or your message. Having a boulevard sign out front of your practice generates impressions. It generates awareness as people see it. The same can be true for an ad in the community paper. It can be true for the email that you send your database, and it can be true for the advertising that people see online, including your organic rankings online. When someone is searching on Google in an area near you looking for your services, and you are on that list, you have the opportunity to generate an impression. We measure interest by those people who click on our ads. So perhaps they are seeing an ad of yours on Facebook or Instagram, and then they click. It's a sign of interest in your message, made, connected and resonated with them, and they're taking an action. From interest comes consideration. And when we say visitors, those are typically visitors to your website. Those are people who you've generated awareness, they've made a click, and they have now landed on your website as visitors. And when they show intent, which typically comes in the form of phoning the practice and requesting an appointment, or perhaps requesting an appointment online, those are the truest forms of intent of trying to engage with your business. They've called you or they've requested a slot in your schedule online. Those are measured in leads. And really, that is the job of marketing, is to generate leads. And the better leads that we can generate, the easier the sales activities become. But at that point in time, it is a sales activity. And an offer might be as simple as this. I'm a patient or a potential patient. I find your practice. I pick up the phone. I call you and I say, I'm looking for an eye exam. Can you get me in on Thursday at 3? And your offer might be, we have availability at 3:15 or 2:45. Would any of those work? Which one of those would work better for you? And at that point in time, an offer has been made to me. And I say, yeah, I'll take 2:15 or 2:45. Perfect. we're good to go. At that point in time, we have made an appointment. I've come in, I show up for my appointment, and an exchange has happened. A sale has happened within the business and within the practice. So the metrics allow us to measure the stages of the funnel. The KPI allows us to measure the relationship between the two in the form of a calculation. So when we are measuring the percentage of people or the ratio of people who go from awareness to an interest, we are measuring their click-through rate, typically shown in a percentage, the percentage of people who have seen an ad and then express interest. The engagement rate is a way for us to understand, perhaps we can use it with our websites, but we can also use it with our social channels. Those percentage of people who go from taking that click to landing on our website. So that is our engagement rate. Or they have seen an ad and they end up on our social page. That is an engagement rate. So that it also includes people who have potentially been shown an ad on social media, but have also engaged, liked, shared, comment. We can start to measure our engagement rate, which is allowing us to measure kind of that middle of the marketing funnel. And the last piece that we see in terms of marketing activities of the big metrics or KPIs to pay attention to is our conversion rate, which when we talk conversion rate primarily within the marketing funnel for our clients, we really want to pay attention to the conversion rate of the website, which really means the percentage of people who, when they come to our website, are taking the action and expressing intent. They're expressing the truest form of intent, which is the percentage of people who end up calling our practice or the percentage of people who end up requesting an appointment online. That conversion rate really allows us to understand at the bottom of the funnel, are we delivering the best return possible? Everyone on this line right now today and on the webinar has a conversion rate from their website and a conversion rate that can be measured. And everyone here also has a marketing funnel. And the opportunity with the conversion rate is really making sure that we're paying attention to the bottom, most truest point of the marketing side of the funnel. When we get to below the line and the sales functions, we're looking at our sales activities of how many offers are we making and our sales. And once we have sales, once we have revenue coming in, we then have the recipe to be able to understand our return on our investment.
So Jason, for the people on the call, they might be looking at all of these KPIs on the left-hand side and feel like, wow, that's a lot to think about. So where would you recommend they start, or what is the most important KPI or key performance indicator that they should really dive into and learn more about?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call is going to want to look at their return on their investment. At some point in time, you are either investing time or energy or dollars or both into your marketing activities. You're buying advertising, you're spending money on advertising, you're investing your time and energy in your social media channels. You want to know your ROI. But when we talk about the marketing phase of the funnel, I'm going to bring us back to conversion rate. The opportunity with conversion rate is when we start with the truest form of someone looking to buy, which is intent. What we want to do is see how can we capture more people who are ready to express intent. And by starting at the bottom of the funnel, even if you think of your household funnel in your kitchen, and you are pouring, say you're trying to pour water through a funnel into a bottle. Well, you can very quickly overload that funnel if the bottom of that funnel isn't wide enough. And the opportunity with conversion rate is to first focus on widening the bottom of the funnel before you start adding more water, because that will ensure that we can more effectively and more efficiently get more water into the bottle. Your marketing and sales funnel operates in a very similar way, which is what do we have to do to make sure our opening is wider before we invest time and energy and dollars into getting more water or more people into the funnel, if that makes sense. So how do we focus on conversion rate and what does that look like? it's where we recommend to start with their website, because the website is the last form of the last step to before people will express intent. So your website has a very, very important job to do. Not only does it have to represent your business and represent your brand, it has to tell the story of what you stand for. It has to provide the nuts and bolts information of what people would be looking for. Your hours of service. Do you accept insurance? It has to answer some of their most relevant questions. If you're a parent of a young child, you might ask the question of, how old do they need to be before their first eye exam? And then what are you looking for with their eye exam? They can't read the wall. They don't even know the alphabet. Those are legitimate questions that people are going to have. So your website needs to do that piece. And that all culminates with the job to make it easier and more frictionless for people to do business with you. We are fragmented consumers these days. We are caught in a million different directions. We might pick up our phone to answer a text and we end up writing an email because that's just how frictionless things are when we're using that device. And that's no different when we're talking about capturing people online. So by starting with the website and focusing on the conversion rate of the website, we are then able to, one, make sure that we can maximize any dollars that we spend already within our marketing funnel. And what that allows us to do for anyone on the line here is we don't have to worry about getting more people into the funnel right away. We just have to make sure that we're capturing our opportunity for the people who are already in our funnel and already in that consideration phase. And let's create a better tool that captures intent. So let's break down some napkin math to show this, because focusing on conversion rate has a very, very, very strong correlation to a positive impact on your return on investment. So what we're going to do is show a couple different scenarios and how we can impact the return on the marketing investment that a business might spend. So the return on your marketing investment is the amount of revenue you earn minus the investment that you make divided by the investment that you make. So let's walk through a scenario. In this first scenario, we spend $1,000 on advertising. And that $1,000 generates 400 visits to our website. And our conversion rate of our website is 5%. The average eye care website or average business eye care website will have a conversion rate between 2 to 5%. So let's say we're at the higher end of that at 5%. Those 400 visitors to our website would generate 20 leads. Let's call it 20 phone calls to our business of inquiries about our services. The cost per lead, which is a KPI, is $50. We spent 1,000 divided by 20 gives us a $50 cost per lead. It costs us $50 to generate one phone call from a potential patient. On the flip side, if we were to take the same $1,000 and the same 400 website visits, but we focus on increasing our conversion rate and the effectiveness of our website first from 5% to 15%, which is a very, very attainable number when we talk about website conversion rate, we go from generating 20 leads to 60 leads. And we cut our cost per lead in a third. The same $1,000 gets us 3 times the amount of potential patients calling our practice. Let's bring this to the ROI side of things, though. We've generated the lead, so we've generated intent, and we knew how much that intent per lead cost us. Let's bring this to inside the business. Let's say from that phone call that we receive, those 20 phone calls or those 60 phone calls, that 30% of those phone calls will result in patients on the schedule. An easy way is it's going to lead to 30% of those people will be a butt in the seat receiving our services. So of that 30%, which for some is really realistic, pretty conservative, we also know the realities in this practice, in this scenario, that the average patient revenue is $300, which in our experience, anywhere between $250 to $400 is a pretty safe wheelhouse to assume. So let's cut that right in the middle. The average patient generates $300 to our practice. Now we can start to measure our return on our marketing investment. So in the first scenario, if 30% of those 20 phone calls turned into a patient, we would have generated 6 patients with our $1,000 investment. If those 6 patients spend an average of $300 each, we have now generated $1,800 in revenue. If we take the $1,800, which is our amount earned, we subtract our advertising spend of $1,000, and we divide it by our advertising spend of $1,000, we end up with a 0.08 return on our marketing investment. In reality, we have spent $1,000 to ultimately earn less than a 1-to-1 ratio. We've still generated revenue, but we're missing an opportunity. On the flip side, if we're able to focus and drive our conversion rate, we generate 3 times as many patients. More than 3 times, sorry. 3 times as many patients. So with those 3 times as many patients, we've now generated $5,400 if the average patient revenue is $300. What that results, though, is a 4.4 times return on investment. A general wheelhouse of ROI when we talk about our marketing investments is looking for a 2.5 to 3 times ROI is your safe zone. Above that is a true opportunity to see that your marketing is working and working effectively. We've done this and accomplished this in this scenario by simply only focusing on the conversion rate, one of those 3 types of measurements that we paid attention to in the previous slide in the funnel. But really what this shows us is a 3 times increase in our conversion rate actually equates to a 5.5 times increase in our return on our marketing investment. If there's 3 takeaways from this to focus on, the first one is focus on measuring performance and results using KPIs. The second one is start at the bottom of the marketing funnel and work our way up. That's not focusable, getting more people in the funnel. Let's make the funnel wider to begin with. And the last one is if you're looking for insights or support with understanding the effectiveness or the metrics that highlight website performance, we're always available for a complimentary audit of the website to help you bring all of this together.
Awesome. So thanks so much, Jason. You did an awesome job explaining that. We do have one question. I know we're kind of short on time, but I'm going to throw it out to you.
Sure.
So what systems do you suggest for managing the funnel and tracking where prospects are at in it?
A way that you can manage where prospects are at in your funnel, the easiest place to start for everyone on this call is understanding Google Analytics. In our experience, most practices have Google Analytics set up with their website, as in that those 2 systems are connected. But Google Analytics allows us to see the stages of the funnel, but that system has to be set up correctly. You have to show analytics or tell Google Analytics, what are you really looking for? That is essentially saying we're able to structure the data to identify those things. So having a properly set up Google Analytics account is paramount for sure. Awesome. And there's resources that we would be happy to point in the right direction if we can.
Definitely. That would be something, if they had a website audit, we can point them in the right direction of where they can find all these metrics and track the funnel.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I think that's, she has one more question.
Sure.
What is your take on remarketing to prospects?
Remarketing to prospects is fantastic. It's a good opportunity to re-engage those people who have either shown who have either been in the awareness stage or perhaps the consideration phase or have visited your website. There are some rules around that, though, because in some cases we are marketing medical procedures, and remarketing can put you in fringe of perhaps infraction or cause an infraction on some regulations. So you have to be cognizant and understand the rules around retargeting when it comes to medical procedures.
Awesome. Yeah, great answer. Awesome. So I think that's all the time we have for questions.
Sure.
We do have a giveaway for you guys in the line. So we know metrics can be a bit overwhelming. There's lots of definitions, a lot of things that you need to know to really understand it. So that's why we created the metrics cheat sheet. So it basically has everything you need to know to understand the results that you're getting and really kind of get that terminology and get a hang of it. So if you would like to download that, we do have it at marketing4acps.com. However, we will also send it out with a follow-up email from this webinar. So don't worry, you can get your hands on that. So don't miss out on that. It's a great piece to have. And yeah, let's move on. So thank you guys so much for coming to our webinar. We had a great time getting nerdy with you, explaining our metrics, and just stay tuned. Our next live webinar is how to build an Instagram strategy in 20 minutes, which will be on May 19th at 12 noon Mountain Standard Time. So thanks so much, Jason, and thanks everybody on the line. We really enjoyed this webinar.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.